Okay, you're listening to the 5-minute podcast review for Friday, January 10, 2020. And usually at the start of each year I see a bump in downloads. I don't know yet if that'll be the case with this episode, being the first for the new year, but my theory has always been that at this time of the year, it's a time when people get together, families get together and share what they've been doing for the year. And part of that might include the sharing of the concept of podcasts, especially with those who haven't heard of podcasting, or maybe they've heard the term but didn't really understand what it was, much less the fact that they're actually equipped with their phones to listen to podcasts. Anyhow, if you've introduced someone to podcasts recently, please let them know about this podcast, because as far as I can tell, it's the most useful podcast out there that talks about or helps you discover other podcasts. And it's not just about the current episode. There are years of back episodes covering hundreds of podcasts, most of which are still active or at least available to download. So yeah, if there's someone in your life who's into podcasts, let them know about the 5-minute podcast review as one of the best resources out there to discover more podcasts. And I'll look out for the download bump over the next few days. Okay, so 2 podcasts to kick off the new year. First is Inside the Big Day Out. So this is a 5-part series that tells the story of the rise and fall of what was, for a time, the world's biggest touring music festival, called The Big Day Out. And The Big Day Out started as a scrappy pull together of bands back in 1992 in Sydney, Australia. And in one of those classic music industry turns of luck, the promoters signed up a range of Australian and international bands for the first Big Day Out, including a fairly unknown US outfit called Nirvana. But in the time between signing on Nirvana and them hitting the stage at the first Big Day Out, the album Nevermind had been released. Nirvana had become the hottest and most in-demand band in the world, and they were in Sydney, Australia, not even headlining at the Big Day Out. And for the Big Day Out, it was all uphill and then downhill from there. The festival grew year on year, touring more cities across Australia and New Zealand, but it started to collapse under its own weight. The podcast episodes cover the key events in the Big Day Out story: conflict between the 2 owners, a tragic audience death in an out-of-control crowd, and the impact of digital music and streaming on music festivals worldwide. If you ever attended a Big Day Out, and for many Australians it was almost a rite of passage growing up, you'll want to listen to Inside the Big Day Out. But the story works regardless of if you've heard of the Big Day Out or not. Ultimately, it's a classic rise and fall story with many of the voices in the podcast active players in the rises and falls. And it's a great look behind the scenes at the chaotic and often out-of-control world of touring music promoters. As I said, Inside the Big Day Out is 5 episodes, each about 30 minutes, so a good 2.5 hours binge listen if you want to look at it that way. I liked it. I'm recommending you check it out, especially if you're looking for something a bit different to listen to. There's a link on your screen, or just search Inside the Big Day Out. Okay, so let me move on to All the Shit I've Learned Abroad. That's the name of the podcast, All the Shit I've Learned Abroad, and it's a travel podcast. It's been a while since I covered a travel podcast, but this is a fresh new one and an entertaining listen whether you're travelling or not. Basically, we have 2 Canadian hosts, 2 women, now expats, one living in London, the other in Melbourne. And they hook up each episode to discuss an aspect of travelling, typically budget travelling, and typically based on their own experiences travelling the world together in their slightly younger days. I think they're both now in their mid to late 30s. Episodes are based on a topic which the girls riff off in a pretty frank, no-holds-barred sort of way. It's a bit like listening in on an uncensored chat between 2 friends, and in fact, that's actually what it is. Have a listen to this clip from the episode on hostel etiquette.
Party hostel or not. You don't need
So I definitely wrote down my ideas for this episode in sequential order, but I'm just going to jump ahead and talk about the lights thing, because I think it is the most commonly enraging thing that people do. Mm-hmm. If you are checking in or coming back after 10 p.m., maybe 11 p.m., I say 10, maybe 11 is more reasonable, and people are sleeping, if you come in the room and there's no one in there, sure, have at her.
Yeah.
If people are sleeping, or even if the lights are off and people are just in bed kind of listening to headphones or doing their own thing, you do not turn the fucking light on.
No.
And same thing, if you're getting up at 3 or 4 and 5 in the morning to go catch your flight, catch a train, whatever you're doing, you don't get up and turn your light on to pack.
No.
You either, if you're coming in late, you get your shit you need out of your bag and do all of that in the hall, then come in the room and just put it by your bed.
Yeah.
Or you pack the night before, you have your shit laid out, you get dressed, or you go to the bathroom to get dressed, and you just take your bag. That's it.
Yeah, prep work. I think now there's like a lot of hostels will have the little bunk lights, so you can go in and like, you know, you can have some light in there, but there's no reason you need to be turning on the big light for like the entire room at any time. And as you said, like, suss the room out first when you come in, and if you are coming in late, and look around and be like, are people sleeping? Because it's not only the lights, but it's the noise as well. Like, if you're throwing around your bag and trying to pack and you're talking like these Swedish girls were having a full-on conversation.
Okay, so that's a bit of hostel etiquette to keep in mind, and there are plenty of other episodes up, including on losing your passport, getting lost abroad, getting sick abroad, solo travel, budget travel, travel scams, airplane etiquette, being away for Christmas, and a whole lot more. I'd say that all the shit I learned abroad is as much entertaining listening for those who have travelled as it is a guide for those intending to travel. But have a listen and see what you think. The link is on your screen. Okay, that's it. Inside the big day out and all the shit I learned abroad. And don't forget to mention this podcast, the 5-Minute Podcast Review, to anyone who could use it to discover a heap of new podcasts. Send them a link, or better still, grab their phone and subscribe them. Anyhow, have a great 2020. Speak to you in the next episode, and thanks for listening.